Hello everyone, today I'll be doing a solo masterathlon Glassway with Hunter. For my subclass, I'll be using the Night Stalker. Here are the fragments I'll be using in this video. For my kinetic, I'll be using the Krait stasis auto rifle with the energy weapon Monarque with the catalyst. For my heavy, I'll be using bad Omens. For my helmet, I'll be using double rocket ammo finder with 5 mobility in volatile flow. Next, I'll be using rocket launcher loader, overload, auto, SMG with elemental ornaments. For the exotic, it will be the 6 Coyote with double void resistance. For leg armor, I'll be using 10 discipline, an arc mod I am forced to use with rocket launcher scavenger. Next, I'll be using bomber, overload grenades, fauna might, and loosen finisher. People will say the Glassway is probably the hardest Nightfalls, but not for this season. It's a bit easier than before. The previous seasons we used to have this grounded and high void where the boss can melt you, even in Master, but for this season you can use the double void resistance, and using both of them for the chest void plate can really help a lot for this Master, and of course it will help so much for the GM. I decided to use Monarque and of course using the catalyst. This season, to deal with overload champions is the grenade, auto rifle, submachine gun, and for the bow, mainly using it for anti-barriers. Now, I'll be really honest, I really don't like the fact that we have to use auto rifle, submachine guns dealing with the champions, because there are times where my auto rifle, right, sometimes I'm shooting the overload champion and then it starts moving around, teleporting and regaining its health like I don't even have an auto rifle or any overload mods for the weapon I'm using. It's to the point where I actually had to get a weapon that has auto loading holster, because when I was trying to reload my auto rifle, then the overload starts to regenerate its health and teleports like, woohoo, hello Blitz, not today. So the best efficient way to take down the overload champions, you have to throw a nade. But for the hunter, right, you will have to have 100 discipline, and then sometimes you don't have that build, which you have to use the advantage of the double dodge to deal with the overload champions. Now in this section, I am not pushing, because if I do push towards that rock or that ice rock, then I'll spawn the barrier champion. I always stay over here, clear down the ads, and then once I pass the rock, which you see from the left side, then I deal with the champion. Now I am using elemental wells, so you can see I'm getting the void rounds, so everything will explode for around, I would say 4 seconds, which I would highly recommend to use the artifact mod for this season, because it is going to help a lot on GMs. It's going to help quite a lot. And then if you're using a void glaive, even better. Not thinking about it, maybe the exotic titan glaive will actually be useful. For this one, try your best not to pass the rock in front of you. You can also back away and do DPS. Now in this place where I'm standing is very dangerous. It's very RNG of what's gonna happen. Either the Fallens are gonna throw nades, or like this can happen. Like seriously, why? I always get the worst luck in this Glassway. And this is why I hate Glassway, because every time I play, bad things happen to me like that. Like seriously, this is not supposed to happen. The boss is not supposed to shoot ice near me. It never does that, but for some reason this video is like, oh no, we're gonna do that. Now always make sure you take down the overload champion if you see the overload champion. Just remember to never pass the rock on the right side, because if you do pass the rock, then you'll spawn the barrier champion. Then he's gonna immune the overload champion or the boss, and it's gonna be a pain. Then they're gonna throw nades, and it's just gonna be a headache, and you're probably just gonna even hate Glassway even more. So you have to play a bit efficiently. You have to be very cautious of where you're standing, especially for the boss fight, which I will talk about at the boss fight, since there's no point of me talking about it right now. Now with the power of the Monarque, you can poison the boss from long range, which is good. Now once I make sure everything is good, you know, nothing bad will happen, I pick up the elemental well, get the volatile rounds, and just clear down as much ads as I can. Once I clear as much of the vandals, dregs, etc., then I take down the void champion. And remember, I am using the loosen finisher. By the way, it's an artifact mod for this season, and what it does is you can get heavy brick from champions or loosen hive. Now the good news is there are no loosen hives in this Nightfall, so that's why I would say Glassway is easier, because the boss can't one-shot you versus Lightblade. The boss can one-shot you in Legend, and the loosen hive can one-shot you in Legend with a grenade or just one little tiny super. Do you see why I say Glassway isn't that hard anymore for this season compared to Lightblade? And that's Legend, by the way. I'm talking about Legend. This is Master, where the boss doesn't really one-shot you. Now be very cautious of the snipers, arc snipers. Now for a GM, it seems that they could one-shot you if you don't have arc resistance. So if I am playing a GM, I'd probably put void and arc, but definitely a big scenario, you know, because GMs are not out. It's just a scenario, and I will have to test it out myself if that will work. Now we're gonna deal with this most annoying overload champion, and he's still annoying. From all previous seasons, he just is very complicated and very annoying and very RNG, where you have to take him down with a heavy or a overload weapon. The overload champion likes to teleport left, right, maybe in the air if it's buggy. If it is, I mean, sometimes it's rare for the overload champion to even stand invisible ground. Like, it's just standing in the air, the bottom air, and then just teleports that away. Really despise the overload champion because it's super RNG of where he's gonna stand. Now, someone can comment and say, why don't you just go behind the rock for the left side? Well, here's the thing. It's RNG of how the boss is gonna behave. He's either going to cooperate with you, or he's going to throw a nade, a stasis nade, and just give you a hard time. Not only that, the overload could just teleport and then just try his best to annihilate you. Then there goes the solo flawless run. Of course, the 100k, etc, etc. Now, there are times on my test runs where I try to take down the overload champion first and the boss, but it all depends of how the boss and the overload champion are cooperating, where you have to defeat the boss first and then the overload, or overload and the boss. Now in here I did decide to push and just take down the barrier champion. Now be aware of these arc seekers. These vandals have this weapon where the arc can seek you, and it's always best to go behind a wall. Try to clear all these ads, and also definitely stagger the champion so it can stop immuning the fallens. Now I was trying to see if I can use my auto rifle, but the DPS of the auto rifle was poor, so I decided just to use the Monarque since it's 20% damage more for this Nightfall. And for this week, like I said, The burn is void, 25%, and then 50% of dealt of what the, of course, Overload champions for the boss fight can do, and for the boss. Now I am skipping a couple ads because I do want to go to the boss fight, since I am going for the 100k. Now for this section, I really despise this area because there are times where the first Overload champion can accidentally fall down, and if you don't tag the Overload champion, the first one, then you're not going to get the points. So I had it happen to me 3 times where I had to start all over again because the Overload champion decided to kill itself. And I couldn't get platinum. Like, I beat it, but I didn't get platinum because it said I was missing 1 champion, and guess what it was? That one over there, yes, that one, where he can kill itself and say, screw you with the platinum, and then ruin your platinum run. Then you start all over again. Which is not really good. I really hate that so much. But once you do take down the Overload champion, then you can deal with the next Overload champion. Now here I was being very reckless. Alright, like, bear with me. It was midnight. I had an awful headache while doing this run. So I don't know if anyone ever had experience of having a migraine headache while doing a solo run, because it's very frustrating as hell. And of course, I just wanted this run to be done. Alright, so I wasn't really 100% accurate for this video, but I did try my best to make it work. Even though I am not 1580, I am 1578, and I still made it work with the rockets, which is why I had the rocket launcher loader, because my discipline for my hunter isn't that high, so I have to take advantage of reloading the rocket when I don't have the dodge for the hunter. Now here is the plate where we had to drain the electric pole or the water. And this is when you need to stand the plate. There will be a couple of shanks, vandals. Now, I don't know why, and this always happens to me in every season of Glassway since the beginning. I never get snipers. Like, when you're in the fire team, you get snipers, but if you're on solo, you don't get snipers, you get shanks and explosive shanks, and that's about it. Now, it is super rare because I have seen players where they get snipers, which is unfortunate and unlucky, but for me, I have never got snipers at all. I would say 90% that you won't get snipers on solo, but if you do get snipers, then that's just unlucky, and I'm very sorry about that. When you do stand the plate, just make sure you know your surroundings and always take down all the ads as much as you can. There are explosive shanks or the Pika shanks, or I don't know, I like to give them nicknames, by the way. And then once you take down these shanks, which they can destroy you if they are close by, now there'll be another Overload champion. Isn't that fun? It's just awesome, isn't it? It will teleport. It all depends on where the Overload will be standing. Usually I stand over here, and sometimes the Overload just walks in front of me. Well, not front as in where I'm standing, but close by for me to stagger the champion. Now I wasn't working out, so I decided to go this side and then just stagger him, use a rocket, dodge, and rocket. Now you're probably wondering, why do I have rocket launcher loader? mainly is for the boss fight, which you will see very soon once I go there. That's basically the only reason why I have rocket launcher loader, by the way. Because Overload champions, the Vex Overload champions are just so complicated to deal with when you don't have a nade. When you don't have a nade, they're complicated. They're a nightmare. When you do have the Overload nade, then they're easy to deal with. But if you don't have it, then things can be trouble. So this shank is the only solar throughout this entire Glassway. Now if you are playing legend mode, there are going to be a lot of arc shields. But for Master, there's only arc shields at the boss fight, and that's about it. Not thinking about it, there'll probably be void shields on Legend because there'll be some of the servitors that are not champions, like maybe this one or another one, etc., that they're not gonna be champions and they'll be just void servitors. I was trying to see where the champion was, and it looked like he was in this angle. Now, be aware that this barrier champion sometimes falls down. Yes, I'm not even joking. Sometimes this servitor can fall down, and then you have to start all over again your DPS, because he's going to regenerate at the bottom of the floor. I'm not really sure how it's not getting damaged by the electric pole, but it happens. And if it happens to you, then you probably had the worst luck, because it happened to me many times. I think it happened to me in one of my videos. I'm just trying to remember, or maybe it was on my test run a year ago or a couple months ago, etc. Don't remember fully. The boss fight is going to be a little easier since I don't think we have grounded for this Nightfall. Mainly is the void burn. Now, I was trying to use just an auto rifle, and I'm trying to figure out if it did work out in this footage or not. I forgot to reload, my bad for that. I was trying to deal with the Overload champion, and it kept teleporting. Yeah, seriously, whose idea was having just Overload and SMG for champions? Like, why? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Now I'm just trying to use this auto rifle, right? And then finally was making it work a bit. Now this is when things can be a little bit complicated, where you need to know the map, you need to know the spawns. If you don't know the spawns of the Wyverns or Wyverns and Overload champions, then this is gonna be a nightmare for you. So for the first phase, there are going to be 2 Overload champions, which they will walk around in this area, and you must take them down as quickly as you can. If you don't, then they're going to annihilate you, and it's not going to be fun. So you can see why I am using rocket launcher loader, you know, etc., etc. This is the reason this is the boss fight. The Overload champion, especially if I don't have a nade, or I want to use a nade later. I am using the invisibility with the finisher, which helps a lot. Would recommend to use it on Warlock or Titan. It helps a lot. Once I do throw a nade and one rocket, then I use my finisher and turn invisible. And yes, the Void and Titan actually has the ability to turn invisible when using your finisher, by the way. If anyone is like curious, like, can Titan do that? Can Warlock do that? Yes. Only for Void subclass, by the way. It doesn't work with Arc, Solar, you know, Stasis, etc. Now I'm using the power of the super, and I'll be honest with you, I prefer this super than the previous bottom tether. You know, it's more fast, more efficient. And if I was using Ophius rigs, then probably would melt the boss much more quicker. Now, because we kill the baby Hydra, right? There'll be 2 more Overload champions that will spawn. highly recommend you take them down and you don't mess around with them. If you do see them, immediately take them down and try your best to avoid getting demolished by the goblins. Sometimes they ignore you and then sometimes they don't. Now I'm gonna throw in another nade, one rocket, a little bit of auto rifle, and then use my finisher. That way I can deal with the champions and of course get my heavy brick. Since now everything seems to be okay, now I can just do DPS at the boss. Now, if anyone's wondering, I was trying to see if I can do precision shots through the shield, and it wasn't working, so that's a bit unfortunate. I mean, imagine if Monarque can actually precision shot through the shield, but it doesn't really matter so much. I mean, as long as I'm poisoning the boss, I'm okay with it. Especially on a GM. On a GM, as long as I'm doing DPS at the boss, even if it's not precision shots, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, a little bit, this kind of bothers me a little bit, but for a GM, I would say doesn't matter. Just want to get it done and just complete it. That's basically on my mind when I play on a GM. Just want to get it done as long as it's working, as long as it's doing DPS at the boss, I'm okay. Even though it won't be that fast to run, doesn't matter. Now the void attack doesn't seem that aggressive compared to the previous seasons. You can see with double void resistance, the boss doesn't seem to melt you that bad in Master version. Now I remember when I was playing Master version on Glassway, it was destroying me like really bad to the point where I had to keep hiding and then just use here and there, you know, sniper, pulse rifle, and then just hide. And then there are times where I had to switch to Warlock because I needed a healing rift just to do DPS at near the stairs. Now this boss doesn't seem too aggressive, but still be aware of where the boss will be moving, because this boss could stomp you too if you are too close. So just be very careful with the boss. And now we're gonna go for the next phase. So the next phase, we're gonna deal with Wyverns, Wyverns, the Vex Peacocks. There's so many nicknames with these specific mini boss. When the final boss starts to despawn, there'll be two of these Wyverns, and these guys are very deadly. So if you see them, destroy them, throw nade, heavy, anything, because on Master they can still one-shot you directly, but if they do miss you, then they can two-shot you. So you have to make sure you take down their Wyverns. If you don't, then they're going to ruin your flawless run and it's gonna give you a headache. Now I hate the Wyverns, but then I had to think about it a little bit more and say the Loosened Hive, I probably despise the Loosened Hive more, especially when you don't have suppression on dealing with the Loosened Hive. They're more dangerous than the Wyverns, and that's my opinion, by the way, because already on Legend they one-shot me with a suppressing grenade, with a shield, anything, right? Compared to a Wyvern. Now for GM, for Wyverns, they will one-shot you, so you have to be very aware where they're going to be walking around, because they can teleport and they can be a nightmare. Now I did saw a barrier champion here, so I decided to take him down. Then I was looking around, browsing, because I feel like there's one more barrier champion, but I couldn't see him. But it looked like I took them down, so I was just double checking. I mean, bear with me guys, my head was killing me when I was doing this run. Alright, so I was counting my head like there are two barrier champions. And this is the last one. Now if you do want to use a rocket, use a rocket. Definitely use heavy. And now someone would ask of why not use a linear? Linear is really good, but the problem is the boss fight. The overload champions, you have to do precision shots at the stomach, and it's really annoying and a bit stressful to do on a linear when you're getting flinch all over with the goblins, etc, etc. So it all depends of your playstyle. I mean, if you want to use a linear, then go ahead. But for me, I tried it. It was working good. It was amazing. Then the boss fight, I didn't work out. Didn't work out at all. And now, since we cleared out all the ads, the next wave of ads, we're going to deal with more of the Wyverns. First, there will be overload champions. We'll be dealing with Wyverns later, by the way. I always like to wait for the overload champion to go inside the cave. You know, I'm just trying to bait it and be very careful. So for the first overload champion, always make sure you take him down. And then the next one you can see will be nearby. So I was trying to do DPS as much as I can and then take him down. So this is one of the reasons why I prefer to use 6 Coyote, just to quickly dodge and then do DPS at the champion. Once we do clear down all the champions, which I'm really happy, now you can do some DPS at the boss. I would say around half DPS at the boss. There'll be another spawn of overload champions, so definitely take advantage of the Monarque and then just be very careful. So I decided to just stay here and then just do DPS. Yeah, isn't this fun? So fun. You know what? This week is probably easier because every time I play Glassway, every time I make a video, it's always togetherness. But for this week, there's no togetherness, so that's why I would say this week's way easier. Now, if it was togetherness, it'd be a little different. I would have to use Worm Husk, which I despise, and unfortunately, I will have to use it next week. So I have to level up the Worm Husk and get ready for that, because that's going to be a nightmare. Alright, so now there'll be 2 overload champions. And now I am just trying to see, you know, scout, looking around, because I already know there's going to be a lot of things going on, especially with these electrical effects that can explode on you, which you have to be very cautious. And I was just trying to be very careful with them. At the same time, I was trying to see if I can get that annoying mini boss. So now I am trying to bait the overload champion. There are 2 of them, by the way, and definitely be very careful with them. You have to be very, very patient with them. If you don't be patient, then these overload champions can annihilate you. So you can see here I was being reckless. I totally forgot to reload my rocket. So now I have to do DPS again. Isn't that fun? I was trying to find a good angle because I saw the boss at the end of the map and I didn't want the boss to shoot me. You know, you never know the boss. Sometimes it could shoot you from far away. You know, you never trust the boss ever. So now definitely I was trying to shoot him, and then my controller was being kind of wonky. So then I had to try again because I did press the R2 button, but it wasn't working. Either that or because my head was killing me, I thought I used it. And then I I didn't do it. I didn't use a rocket, even though in my mind I said I did it. So yeah, bear with me, guys. It's really difficult to play with a migraine headache. Very difficult. I don't know if anyone has tried it, but it's not fun. It's hard to focus. But then I had to bait the Overlord champion again, and then this time I'll get him. So just be very, very careful, because this boss or this Overlord champion can ruin your run, which is why it's best to use a rocket. Maybe a grenade launcher. Now, I haven't tried a grenade launcher. Maybe it'll work, but the problem is how you're gonna deal with the mini bosses from long range. That's the problem I've been trying to think about, you know? So once we defeat the 2 Overlord champions, now you can actually do some DPS dealing with the Now, when you're using Monarque, you just poison the boss through the shield. Now, a couple seasons ago, I also did this method with a pulse rifle with Outbreak Prime. For this season, you can't, since it's unstoppable pulse, not anti-barrier pulse. Now, I was really hoping that they were gonna make pulse rifles into Overload, because I really want to use Outbreak Overload for this Nightfall. But nope. They had to put auto rifle and some machine guns. Like, they thought it would be an amazing idea for legendary weapons. I'm not talking about exotics. Yes, there is an exotic that is amazing. Yes, I know that. But I'm talking about legendary. And it could be so frustrating. Now, for this phase, you have to be very careful, because this is when 2 champions spawn, and then we have the Wyverns, and I almost died there, by the way. If I didn't dodge, I probably would have been done. So always be aware of your surroundings, because these Wyverns also love to teleport. Seriously, they're very, very frustrating to deal with, and you have to be very cautious with them, or they're gonna be teleported, say, hey, what's up? And then you die. Then you go back to orbit for GM, and you'd start all over again. So always make sure you take them down, and you can use your super, by the way. So if the Wyvern's too close and you feel like he is going to try to one-shot you, don't be afraid of using your super. Like, there's no rush. Like, don't be afraid. Just use it. You never know. These Wyverns are super RNG how they behave. You have to be a little distance, but then there are times where they see you, which you don't notice, right? Then they'll teleport, and then they'll try to one-shot you. On a GM, they will one-shot you, even with double void resistance. So you have to always be aware of your surroundings, always look at the map. But for a GM, you will have to put the sound at number 10, because they are extremely, extremely dangerous. Alright, so over here I was a little confused, because usually 2 Wyverns spawn when you kill the mini Hydra. Now, I was trying to think in my mind, like, why the mini Hydra did not spawn. I think my super, I think it did so much damage, like, even though it was immune, I took down the Hydra. Either that, or I used my super and I didn't see it. You know, my head was killing me, by the way, so I was trying to, like, think and say, where is the mini Hydra? Did I took him down with my super and I probably didn't even know? So usually you do have a mini Hydra, and then when you take down the Hydra, right, then you get additional 2 of the Wyverns. Either that or I could be wrong, or the mechanics change a bit. And that one scared me so much. I don't know about you guys, but that terrified me. When I saw that corpse like running while falling down to the left side, I thought it was going to kill me, so I was kind of a little terrified. So now I am just counting of how many champions I kill. And then later on I did lost counted because my head was killing me. There's going to be 4 of these barrier champions, so you have to make sure you take them down to get platinum. Now, just to let everyone know, I did test it out. I tried to tag all the barrier champions, didn't get platinum. I tried to kill all the champions and then tag the platinum, well, tag the last barrier champion that always walks around with the boss. Didn't get platinum. Now, people were saying that you can get platinum by tagging it. I tried it 2 times, it doesn't work. I mean, if it didn't work, that would be awesome. Well, maybe it's a bug, but you will have to take down all the barrier champions to get platinum, because I tested out 2 times and, you know, wasted around 1 hour of my life, because I had to do the run again and test it out, see if I could get platinum. Always remember the last phase. There will be 2 Wyverns, then when you kill the baby Hydra, there will be additional. Once you take down all the barrier champions, then you'll complete the Nightfall. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!